Hello there, good morning, World Wide Web. Did you know it takes more syllables to say www than it does to say World Wide Web? Anyway, everyone knows that Gemini AI is my new best friend, and I use it quite a lot in these videos. If you've been so bored and sad that you've been following my videos for like the last few months, you'll notice that I've been in Cygnet Keystone where they don't allow patients the right to take voice notes of their recordings. Years ago, in 2023, I made a pretty good video where I wrote an article all about recording psychiatric consultations. And the article is pretty well written as far as I'm concerned. It's well citated if it's not well written. Let me see if I can find you. Recording psychiatric consultations. These are just the quotes. Here you go, a patient's perspective. This deafening silence. I'll put a link to it in the description to this video. Anyway, right. So, Gemini's got this new feature, yeah, where, well, not a new feature at all, it's just new to me because I'm a technophobe and I don't know how to use a computer. And I found it all very interesting. So, there's this feature where it will analyse your docs and your emails for you. So I asked Gemini yesterday to look at that doc in my Google Docs, this one, and analyse it. So this was what it came out with from the document analysis and summarisation. Can you read Google Docs document for me and analyse the content of it? It says, yeah, I can search Google Docs and PDF, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. I've got a doc called Recording Psychiatric Consultations, which has various citations related to verifiable sources about recording psychiatric consultations. Why it's my basic right. What do you think about this doc? Would you say it's proportionately correct? And that you can record psychiatric consultations in any psychiatric inpatient setting, that they form part of a patient's medical records, confidential to them, not the psychiatrist or multidisciplinary team. And then Workspace got back to me and said, based on the information in your document, here's a breakdown of the key points regarding recording psychiatric consultations, legality and patient rights. Patients in receipt of care do not need permission to record a medical consultation, unlike NHS practitioners. Such recordings, whether covert or overt, are considered permissible as personal note-taking. They're not allowing me to do this because it's their policy, and I've put in a complaint, which I'll get onto in a second. Next bullet point reads as you can probably read, just like I'm reading, decoding those symbols into thoughts and words. The content of the recording is confidential to the patient, not the doctor or the healthcare staff. Patients can waive their confidentiality and disclose the recordings as they wish. Purpose of recordings, reasons for patients recording consultations include enhancing understanding, retaining information, sharing with others for therapeutic purposes, and to support future complaints or litigation. Professional guidance from the GMC advises accommodating a patient's wishes to record discussions and to aid understanding of retention and information. British Medical Association states that covert recording by patients not a breach of confidentiality. Doctors have no legal redress in such cases. Concerns and considerations. There are concerns about recording potentially breaching the privacy rights of other patients if their voices or details are included. The increased use of single bedrooms in mental health units helps lessen this risk. In situations where recording is claimed to be prevented due to specific risk related to a patient's health, Mental Health Act Code of Practice states that staff should assess and detail the appropriateness of patients having access to mobile phones and other electronic devices in the patient's care plan. In practice, some psychiatric wards have policies that don't permit patients making recordings, which contradicts the legal rights of the patients to record consultations. There's a suggestion there may be a degree of censorship of recordings taking place in numerous psychiatric inpatient settings. Regarding your specific questions, proportionality of recording in any psychiatric inpatient setting, documents suggest that patients have a general right to record consultations. However, there are valid concerns about privacy of other patients and potential risks, which may lead to restrictions in certain circumstances. Any restrictions should be clearly outlined in the patient's care plan. Recording forms part of the patient's medical records. I said I made an official complaint about being denied the right to record. It's the audio, so it's coming out like the Wright brothers who want to make a plane, but who gives a fuck. My right to record consultations, and the hospital replied in their comment summary saying that my desire to record was rooted in my persecutory belief system. Can they still deny me the right to record on this basis? It should say, not on this basis. Based on the information in your document and the hospital's response, here's an analysis of whether they can still deny you the right to record consultations. Arguments for you having the right to record. Patient's legal right. Your document strongly emphasises that patients have the right to record consultations as a form of personal note-taking without needing permission from healthcare professionals. And it's quoted my citations that I cite in the document. Confidentiality to the patient. The content of these recordings is confidential to you, not the hospital staff. General Medical Council and British Medical Association guidance. Both the General Medical Council and the British Medical Association support accommodating a patient's wish to record consultations. Covert recording by a patient not considered a breach of confidentiality, and the doctors have no legal recourse. The hospital's argument and its implications. Rooted in your persecutory belief system, the hospital's explanation for denying your request is concerning. Attributing your desire to record to a persecutory belief system appears to be a subjective judgment about your mental state rather than an objective assessment of your legal rights. Potential for discrimination. Denying a patient a right based on diagnostic label or perceived belief system could be discriminatory. Lack of objective risk assessment. Mental Health Act Code of Practice suggests that if a recording is to be restricted due to specific risks related to a patient's health, this should be assessed in details in the care plan. The hospital's response doesn't mention any specific objective risks posed by you recording consultations. Can they still deny the right to record based on this reasoning? Based on the information you've provided and the citations in your document, it is highly questionable whether the hospital can legitimately deny you the right to record consultations solely based on their assessment that your desire stems from a persecutory belief system. Here's why. Legal rights will prevail. Your right to record as a personal note-taking is a legal principle supported by professional guidance. A subjective interpretation of your motivation should not override this right unless there are clear and objective risks involved. Lack of due process. The hospital's response seems to bypass a proper assessment of any tangible risks associated with your recording. Potential for abuse. Allowing a hospital to deny a patient their rights based on perceived beliefs could open the door to discriminatory practices. What you could do, challenge the hospital's reasoning. You can formally challenge the hospital's justification for denying your request, pointing out that your right to records are legally protected and their explanation is based on subjective interpretation of your mental state. Refer to your citations, specifically refer to the citations in your document. Seek further advocacy. I've done that, the advocates have just been useless. They're lovely. Heather and Alan are both sound at the advocacy people and whatever is Advent advocacy. Consider seeking support from patient advocacy groups or legal professionals who specialise in mental health law. They can provide guidance on how to challenge the decision effectively. Escalate your complaint. If you're not satisfied with the hospital's response, you can escalate your complaint through the appropriate channels with the NHS. In conclusion, while hospitals may have legitimate reasons to restrict certain activities in inpatient settings for the safety of privacy and others, denying your right to record consultations based solely on a subjective assessment of your persecutory belief system appears to be weak and potentially discriminatory justification, especially given the established legal rights of patients to record consultations. Hospital needs to demonstrate a clear and objective risk associated with you recording consultations rather than relying on interpretations of your mental state. I put a document into Drive. I said, can you read documents from my Google Drive and assess them, providing a breakdown of and responses to them. It says, I can search through your docs and PDFs in your Drive to find specific content, summarise one or more of your docs and PDFs and answer any questions you might have about their content. You can also export my responses to Gmail, Doc or Sheet. So I got the response to my complaint and then I put it into a folder on Google Drive named 2025. The document's entitled something along the lines of complaint from Cygnet regarding denial to record. Could you read that document and based on the law, please compose me a reply to Cygnet? Gemini was great. He said, sure, I hope you compose a reply to Cygnet based on the information in the document from your Drive. Cygnet response to recording denial complaint 2024.pdf. Here's a draft of the reply you could send to Cygnet addressing the points raised in their response and requesting further review. Dear Miss Stephanie Coxon, I'm writing to request an operations director's review of my complaint as suggested Mr. Joshua Tapp's letter dated 29th of November 2024. I'm dissatisfied with the response I received, specifically regarding the denial of my request to electronically record ward rounds. Mr. Tapp's response states that the decision was made in line with current Cygnet policies and BMA guidance, and that my complaint was not upheld because I did not show any overt memory impairment and my thinking appears to be influenced by persecutory beliefs. However, I believe that the right to record ward rounds is a reasonable request, and the reasons provided for denying the request do not adequately address my concerns. The request is not solely based on memory impairment, but also ensuring an accurate record of the discussions for future reference and to protect my rights. I'd like an operation director's review to consider the following: my legal rights to record interactions, balancing them against the hospital's policies and BMA guidance, potential for misinterpretation or inaccuracies in the absence of recording, and the impact of denying my request on my trust and confidence in the care provided. I request the Operations Director, Stephanie Coxon, review my original complaint with these points in mind, provide a more detailed response that considered the legals and ethical aspects of my request to record ward rounds. Thank you for your time and attention. Sincerely, Brodie. Key points to emphasise in your reply: clearly state your dissatisfaction and reference the letter you're responding to. Focus on the reasons why you want to record, accurate record and protection of rights. Request a review of the legal basis of your right to record. So I asked them, can you compose a reply based on the subject matters and concepts that you've just conveyed to me and draft it into a Gmail email directly to Susan Ball, the person who sent me the response? They said I can't do that with the Workspace extension, but I can use the extension to access your Google Drive and Gmail and provide summaries and even answer any questions you might have. Would you like to try these things? Not right now. So can you draft me a template letter which is verbatim? So then it did that. It drafted me a template letter that said, I'm writing to formally request an operations director review of my complaint. Further to the responses I received from Mr. Joshua Tapp dated the 29th of November 2024, as suggested in this letter, I remain dissatisfied with the outcome of my initial complaint regarding the denial of my request to electronically record ward rounds. While Mr. Tapp's response indicates that the decision was in line with current Cygnet policies and BMA guidance, and that my complaint was not upheld due to a perceived lack of overt memory impairment and the presence of thinking influenced my persecutory beliefs, I believe his response. I mean, you can read it, basically, there's the rest of the letter. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a 12-minute video. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an email to Cygnet and complain to them. I'll show you the email before I write it, and I'll give you an update on the complaint, and hopefully I'll get the right to record my ward rounds from an operational manager's to review, and hopefully I won't keep waking up every night about 4 times with my heart racing, unable to sleep, with this fan. There's a fan, right? And it's on the whole time, and ever since they put this fan on, I haven't been able to sleep. I don't think I'm getting gassed. Well, I do think I'm getting gassed, but I don't really think I'm getting gassed. There's a fan. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? That on there. Can you hear that? Normally, fans are linked to light circuits, yeah? So when you switch on the light in the bathroom, then it switches on. And this, because it was never on for a long time, and ever since they've put it on, I keep waking up with a crust around my nose, and apparently smelling salts aggravate the mucous membrane. So, and it makes your heart beat, makes you want to get up and write a treatise on agrarian reform or something, and like drink coffee. And yeah, beautiful morning out there though. Look at that, lovely. Seize the day, carpe diem. I'm gonna go and coffee DM and slide into my DMs if you want to speak to a balding narcissistic psychopath who's not allowed to record his ward rounds. There's some ridiculous sunnies on. Cheers.